There's a woman who walks alone, not because she's bitter, not because she can't make friends, but because life taught her something. That peace is better than pretending, and solitude is better than fake company. She's not lonely, she's selective. She's not cold, she's cautious. And that's what makes her powerful. You see, we live in a world where people mistake being surrounded for being supported. They think having a crowd means having connection. But this woman learned the hard way that most people clap only when it benefits them, that smiles can be masks, and that loyalty has an expiration date when tested by truth. Once she used to give everything, her time, her energy, her trust. She believed that if she treated people well, they would do the same. But life doesn't always work like that. There came a day when silence replaced conversations, when people she trusted the most disappeared at the first sign of her storm. And it was in that silence she found clarity that maybe having no friends was better than having the wrong ones. She learned that not everyone deserves access. Not everyone should know your plans, your fears, your dreams. Because the more you share, the more they take, and not always with good intentions. Sometimes they take to compare, to compete, or to use it against you. So she stopped explaining. She stopped proving. She stopped apologizing for outgrowing people who refused to grow with her. Now, when she walks into a room, she doesn't seek approval. Her validation doesn't come from who likes her. It comes from knowing she's true to herself. She's no longer afraid of being misunderstood because she understands herself better than ever. She doesn't chase anyone to stay because those meant for her will never make her beg for presents. The woman with no friends, she found strength in silence. She found confidence in independence. She realized that peace doesn't always come with company. Sometimes it comes when the noise fades away. She discovered that being alone isn't a weakness, it's a skill. The ability to stand alone without falling apart, to rebuild yourself without witnesses, to celebrate your wins without applause. That's real power. And now she's dangerous, not because she fights others, but because she no longer fights for those who wouldn't fight for her. She's calm because she knows her worth. She's distant because she knows her limits. She's private because peace lives where drama doesn't enter. So when you see a woman who keeps to herself, don't assume she's lonely. Assume she's healed. Assume she's done giving chances to people who showed her what not to tolerate. Assume she's protecting the version of herself that cost her years to rebuild. The woman with no friends, she's not empty, she's full of lessons. She's not sad, she's aware. She's not broken, she's evolved. And if that means walking alone, she walks proud, because solitude made her see what crowds never could, that peace, power, and purpose are not found in people. They're found within. Solitude isn't loneliness. It's self-mastery. There's a difference between being alone and being lonely, but most people don't understand that. They assume that if you're by yourself, something must be missing. They think silence means emptiness and isolation means sadness. But the truth is, solitude is not the absence of people. It's the presence of self. It's the space where you hear your own thoughts without interruption, where you see yourself without reflection from others, where you grow without needing permission. When you spend time alone, you start to see things differently. The noise of the world fades, and what's left is truth, raw, unfiltered truth. You begin to notice your habits, your fears, your triggers. You realize how much of your life was lived to meet expectations, to earn validation, to fit into places that were never built for you. Solitude strips away the masks, the noise, the endless opinions, until all that remains is you, the real you. That's why solitude can be uncomfortable at first. It forces you to face what you've been avoiding. The silence makes you listen to thoughts you've been trying to drown out with distractions. It makes you confront your own patterns, your own weaknesses, your own role in your pain. And that's where mastery begins, not by blaming others, but by understanding yourself. In solitude, you start asking questions you never had time to ask. Why do I react this way? Why do I keep repeating the same mistakes? Why do I need certain people's approval so badly? And slowly, answers come not from outside, but from within. You realize that your emotions have been running the show, that fear has been making your decisions, and that comfort has been disguised as loyalty to the wrong people. Solitude shows you what's real. It reveals who adds peace to your life and who only adds noise. When you step back and distance yourself from constant interaction, you begin to see dynamics clearly. You notice who checks on you when you go quiet, who only calls when they need something, who gets uncomfortable when you start to grow. You learn that not everyone clapping for you wants you to win. You learn that being surrounded doesn't mean being supported. And as the circle gets smaller, your focus sharpens. You start investing your energy differently. Instead of trying to be everything for everyone, you start being everything for yourself. You begin to rebuild from within your confidence, your clarity, your peace. You stop looking for people to fill the gaps that only self-awareness can close. You stop chasing validation because solitude teaches you that the only opinion that truly matters is the one you hold about yourself. Mastery is not about controlling others. It's about controlling yourself. It's about choosing how to respond instead of reacting out of habit. It's about recognizing when your emotions are taking over and having the discipline to pause. That kind of strength doesn't come from crowds. It comes from quiet moments when no one is watching. It comes from doing the inner work, the uncomfortable, unseen work that no one celebrates, but everyone feels when you walk into a room differently. People often fear solitude because it feels like losing something. They think if they step back, they'll be forgotten. But solitude doesn't make you disappear. It makes you discover. It teaches you how to be your own anchor. It shows you that peace doesn't depend on circumstances, that happiness isn't about company, and that confidence isn't something people give. It's something you build by keeping promises to yourself. The more time you spend in solitude, the less tolerance you have for chaos. You stop entertaining shallow conversations, meaningless arguments, and performative relationships. You value your energy differently. You start saying no without guilt, walking away without explanation, and resting without apology, because you understand that your energy is currency and where you spend it determines what you attract. Solitude also strengthens intuition. When you're always surrounded by noise, it's hard to hear that quiet inner voice that guides you. But in stillness, it gets louder. You start trusting yourself more, your gut, your instincts, your judgment. You no longer ask, what do they think? You start asking, what feels right for me? That shift changes everything. It turns confusion into clarity and dependency into direction. You begin to respect your own rhythm. You realize that growth doesn't require an audience. You learn to move in silence, to work without announcing, to evolve without explaining, because when you truly master solitude, you no longer need to prove progress. You just embody it. You become grounded, calm, deliberate, unfazed. You stop rushing. You stop comparing. You stop needing to be seen because you've already seen yourself clearly. Solitude turns pain into power. It turns heartbreak into healing. It takes everything that once broke you and transforms it into wisdom. You stop viewing alone time as punishment and then start seeing it as preparation. You're not missing out on life. You're preparing for it. Building strength, patience, and discernment that people who fear silence will never know. When you come out of solitude, you move differently. You speak less, but with more purpose. You give less, but with more intention. You attract peace instead of drama, purpose instead of validation, and authenticity instead of approval. Because solitude taught you that not everyone can walk with you, and that's not loss, that's alignment. In the end, solitude isn't isolation, it's elevation. It's where you meet the most honest version of yourself. Not the one shaped by others' opinions, but the one you were always meant to become. Protecting your peace is more powerful than pleasing people. Most people spend years trying to make everyone around them comfortable, adjusting their tone, hiding their feelings, shrinking their truth, all to avoid conflict or rejection. They call it kindness, but deep down, it's exhaustion wearing a smile. When you live for approval, you hand over control of your emotions to others. You let their moods dictate your worth, and their opinions shape your identity. Protecting your peace means taking that power back. It means choosing yourself even when others call you selfish, because you finally understand that peace isn't found in pleasing others. It's found in honoring your boundaries. There's a point in life where you realize that not every battle deserves your presence. Not every comment deserves your reaction. Not every invitation deserves your yes. The more you mature, the more you understand that peace is not a place you stumble upon. It's a discipline you build. It's a habit of letting go of arguments that lead nowhere, of people who drain you, of environments that disturb your energy. You stop chasing closure and start choosing calm. Because peace is not the absence of problems. It's the ability to stay centered in the middle of them. Protecting your peace often means disappointing people who expect your compliance. You'll be misunderstood when you stop explaining yourself. You'll be judged when you start saying no, but you'll also start breathing differently, deeper, freer. There's a special kind of freedom that comes when you stop asking permission to be at peace. You realize that you don't owe everyone an explanation for your boundaries. Some will call you cold, others distant, but that's only because your peace exposes their chaos. When you stop participating in dysfunction, people who thrive on it will always take it personally. The need to please others usually begins from fear of rejection, fear of being disliked, fear of being alone. You tell yourself that keeping everyone happy keeps you safe, but it doesn't. It keeps you small. It keeps you silent. It keeps you tired. Protecting your peace, on the other hand, is an act of courage. It means being okay with not being understood. It means choosing silence over explanation, distance over drama, and boundaries over acceptance. You start to realize that not everyone deserves access to your energy. Peace requires discernment, knowing what to engage with and what to walk away from without guilt. People who value your peace will respect your boundaries. People who don't will try to guilt you for having them. You begin to see that how someone reacts to your boundaries tells you everything about their intentions. The more you protect your peace, the more you see through people's patterns. You notice how some only show up when they need something. You see how others test your limits just to see how much you'll tolerate. Peace gives you clarity, and clarity gives you strength. You no longer negotiate your worth with people who don't value your calm. When you choose peace, you start losing interest in the things that used to drain you. Gossip, comparison, unnecessary arguments, and validation from people who never truly cared. You stop chasing relationships that cost you your inner balance. You stop explaining your growth to those who preferred your smaller version. You learn that walking away is not weakness, it's wisdom. Because peace isn't just a mood, it's a mindset, a way of living where you no longer allow the world to shake your center. Protecting your peace changes the way you move. You respond slower. You think before you speak. You no longer give quick reactions to everything that provokes you. You start to understand that sometimes silence is the loudest answer, and walking away is the strongest statement. You conserve your energy for things that actually matter. Your goals, your purpose, your healing. And the more you do that, the less chaos finds you, because energy flows where attention goes. And when your attention is peace, chaos can't survive there. There will always be people who mistake your peace for arrogance. They'll think you've become too distant, too quiet, too unbothered. What they don't understand is that peace changes your appetite. You no longer crave constant connection or validation. You crave calm mornings, honest conversations, loyal hearts, and environments that don't make you question your worth. Peace becomes the filter through which you choose everything. The people you keep, the work you do, and the words you speak. Protecting your peace also means protecting your mind. You stop feeding it with negativity, comparison, and drama. You stop scrolling through people's lives trying to measure your own. You become intentional about what you consume, from conversations to content. You realize that mental clutter steals more peace than any argument ever could. So you start decluttering, deleting, distancing, detaching. You learn that it's okay to outgrow people, habits, and places that no longer align with your peace. Sometimes protecting your peace means sitting in solitude and letting silence heal you. It means not responding to every text, not attending every gathering, not being available to everyone all the time. You stop running on demand. You start living on purpose, because you understand that constant accessibility leads to emotional exhaustion. The more you give yourself away, the less of yourself you have left. Peace requires pauses, intentional breaks where you recharge without guilt. When you live with peace as your priority, you stop competing and start creating. You stop comparing timelines and start trusting divine timing. You begin to move slower, but with more intention. You value presence more than attention. You realize that the loudest person in the room isn't always the strongest. Often, the one with the most peace is the one with the most power, because power isn't in control, it's in composure. Protecting your peace means not letting every situation demand a reaction, not letting every insult deserve a response, and not letting every problem steal your perspective. You rise above things that used to pull you down. You stop proving your point to people committed to misunderstanding you. You stop lowering yourself to match someone else's chaos, because the moment you do, you hand them your peace, and peace is too expensive to give away so cheaply. When you protect your peace, you evolve into a calmer version of yourself. Your voice becomes softer but stronger. Your steps become slower but surer. You stop fighting the world and start mastering your own inner world. You realize that real success is not just about achievements. It's about how calm your heart feels when everything else is loud. Not everyone deserves access to your energy or your story. There's a point in life where you realize that your time, your emotions, and your presence are not free. You start to understand that every conversation, every favor, every piece of yourself that you give away is an exchange of energy, and not everyone has earned that access. Some come to take, not to build. Some come to feed off your light because they've dimmed their own. Protecting your energy means being selective with your access, not out of arrogance, but out of awareness. You learn that not everyone should know you deeply, because not everyone intends to treat that knowledge with respect. When you share your story with the wrong people, you hand them weapons they can later use against you. Some people don't listen to understand. They listen to compare, to gossip, to judge. They pretend to care, but what they really want is information. They want insight into your weaknesses, your pain, your insecurities. And when you finally realize that, you begin to speak less and observe more. You stop oversharing your emotions with people who haven't earned your vulnerability. Because vulnerability without discernment is self-sabotage. There's power in privacy. The more you keep to yourself, the stronger you become. The less people know, the less they can interfere, manipulate, or misunderstand. When you start moving in silence, you realize how much energy you were wasting explaining yourself to people who never deserved the explanation in the first place. You start valuing peace over attention, progress over announcement. You stop telling people what you're doing and just let your results speak. Silence becomes your strategy. Focus becomes your armor. Energy is currency. And some people are debt collectors. They drain your motivation, your optimism, your clarity. You walk away from them feeling heavier than when you arrived. Protecting your energy means recognizing those patterns early. Who leaves you tired, who leaves you confused, who makes you question your worth. Because energy doesn't lie. You can feel the difference between those who uplift and those who exhaust. Once you start noticing, you stop negotiating. You stop convincing yourself that you owe people endless chances. You don't. You owe yourself peace. You also learn that access is earned through consistency, not charm. Some people enter your life with all the right words, all the right smiles, and all the wrong intentions. They appear supportive until you no longer serve their need. They appear kind until your success threatens their comfort. This is why you must test consistency before granting closeness. Observe people in silence. Watch how they treat you when they gain nothing from you. That's where truth lives, not in their compliments, but in their patterns. Being selective with your energy isn't cruelty, it's clarity. You realize that you are not obligated to engage with everyone, fix everyone, or explain yourself to everyone. You can love people from a distance. You can wish them well without staying close. You can forgive without giving them a seat back at your table. Some people deserve closure. Others just deserve your absence. Protecting your energy means choosing peace over proving a point, silence over unnecessary confrontation, distance over forced connection. When you begin filtering who has access to your space, your life starts to feel lighter. You notice how peaceful your days become when you stop entertaining people who bring chaos. You start waking up without anxiety, without the weight of others' drama. You realize that boundaries aren't walls, they're doors, and you control who walks through them. The stronger your boundaries, the clearer your life becomes. You stop being reactive and start being intentional. You choose who earns your energy based on alignment, not attachment. There's a quiet strength that comes from not needing to be everywhere, not needing to respond to everything, not needing to share every detail of your journey. You learn to move with mystery. You stop giving people the map to your peace, because the more people know about what matters to you, the easier it is for them to disrupt it. Privacy becomes a form of self-respect. Protecting your energy becomes an act of maturity. You no longer seek validation for your choices. You trust your intuition to guide you toward the right ones. And as you become more selective, your world starts to shrink, not because you're losing people, but because you're making room for better ones. The ones who don't compete with you, but collaborate. The ones who don't drain you, but refuel you. The ones who don't just listen to your story, but protect it. Those people are rare, and you recognize their value instantly because peace feels different around them. They don't demand access. They earn it through consistency, honesty, and respect. The more you protect your energy, the more powerful your presence becomes. You walk differently when you're not carrying everyone's expectations. You speak differently when you no longer seek approval. You move differently when you know that your energy is sacred. You stop giving discounts on access to your life. You stop explaining your silence. You stop apologizing for boundaries. Because when you protect your energy, you protect your power, and power doesn't need to prove itself. You also begin to understand that not everyone who loses access is meant to return. Some chapters end for your evolution. You don't need to reopen doors that peace closed for a reason. Growth requires distance sometimes. Distance from people, from habits, from conversations that used to comfort you but no longer serve you. Protecting your energy is not just about people. It's about habits, environments, and even thoughts that drain your spirit. You start paying attention to how you feel after everything you do. If something costs your peace, it's too expensive. Your story is not for public consumption. Not everyone deserves to know where you've been or what you've overcome. Some people haven't earned the right to hear your truth. Share your story with those who have proven they can hold it with care, those who listen without judgment, those who support without envy. Your story is sacred because it carries the weight of your lessons, your scars, and your growth. You protect it not because you're hiding it, but because you're honoring it. Being selective with your energy and your story doesn't make you guarded. It makes you wise. You've learned through experience that giving too much access to the wrong people costs more than it's worth. You've learned that silence is strength, distance is direction, and privacy is power. You've learned that your peace is worth protecting, even if it means standing alone, even if it means being misunderstood, even if it means walking away quietly from anything that doesn't value your energy or your story.